Hello. No one can dominate you. No one. Unless you let them. Because ultimately, you could be a brain in a jar. Just being fed stimuli. And you wouldn't even know if this reality was real or not. In a way, everything that happens inside of yourself. And the premise of spirituality is the exact same. Our spirit diminishes because we allowed that person to diminish our spirit. We weren't able to remain cool. We weren't able to remain calm, perhaps because of a trauma being triggered at that specific moment inhibited our ability to do so. We had to react. We had to respond. We had to get caught up in the emotions elicited by that stimuli. And as a result, our spirit was then controlled by them. If you get angry, if you cannot remain cool, if you become emotional whenever anything happens, that thing that caused you to react emotionally, it controlled you, didn't it? Like a jellyfish tingling to sensations, you moved a certain way. You were not the one in control. But to remain calm, when something happens, when someone says something to you, to remain calm, to have faith in yourself, to not diminish in posture, but to just have self-respect. That is just it. To carry yourself with self-respect, knowing that you are a member or a citizen of that country, a good person contributing to it. You have more than enough fertile ground to have self-respect. And with that, no one can dominate you past that unless you let them. Regardless of what people say about you, maybe your ancestry, things that happened in the past. If today in this present you are trying to be a good person, if you're trying your best to put your good foot forward and you're making the decisions you need to have respect in yourself on a consistent basis, like a father showing up to a job, often another in today's time, to support his children. Someone who's going back home to pay rent so they can pursue their studies as well in a safe environment so that they can be more valuable contributors to society, or just someone who's just making other people's day because they're trying to put their good forward in their work environment. Regardless of what you're doing, you're a citizen of your country and you're putting your good foot forward for the sake of not just yourself, but in doing so, others as well, because that's how society works. It's a mutual exchange. When you do good for yourself, naturally you will do good for others. And if you're putting positive intention behind that, you have every reason to respect yourself. If that is true, no one can diminish that. No one. A narcissist will try to cheapen you, try to put you down to validate their own sense of superiority, their own ego, but they don't have the right unless you give them that right. No one can dominate you unless you let them. And so, regardless of what anyone says, if people touch you, you can say no, but even when you're forced, even when you have no choice in the situation, your spirit can be strong. Regardless of what happens, you can maintain your own dignity. That is given to you, and no one can take that from you unless you let them. And that's not predicated on anything in the material world, is it? It's predicated on your own character, your God-given potential, and just showing up to what you know you should show up to. That's just it. Because the frames of reference for comparison are infinite. If you compare it on the material world, if you compare it on what other people are doing, you'll never have a tangible comparison to which you can respect yourself through, because that's infinite. Even beautiful people call themselves ugly nowadays because there's so many frames of reference for beauty. And in some cultures, and sometimes historically, the Italian Renaissance, fat women were attractive. There's always a frame of reference that is not congruent with the one you are currently in. And for that reason alone, you'll never be able to have a tangible frame of reference to generate a sense of respect. The only thing you can truly compete with is yourself. That's the only fair frame of reference to yourself. To be better from where you are, based upon the cards you were dealt. What else can you do? What else can you... There's nothing else you can do. Everything else is just going to destroy you. It's infinite. That's a trade with the devil that goes into infinity. And not only do you attack and destroy the world around you, trying to better yourself, you destroy yourself in the end all the same. It's an impossible game. But to try to improve yourself, to grow on a consistent basis from the place you are now, with the cards you have been dealt. If anyone questions that, when you're trying your best, if anyone questions that, there's something wrong with them. You don't have to listen to that person. They're not making sense. They likely lack self-awareness. They're likely a narcissist, and it has nothing to do with you and has everything to do with them trying to grandeur themselves, elevate themselves beyond a state of self-awareness so that they can feel good because of a past trauma. They were small some other time, so they're compensating now in a present time through you. And the only way they can justify their own spirit inflating is by diminishing yours. When in reality, that's just a trigger. They could have done that without you. They often do. They talk to themselves about how great they are, and they want to create a feedback loop justifying that in reality. You don't have to play that game with them. You don't have to let other people dominate your spirit, regardless of what anyone says. If you're showing up to what you need to show up to, you don't have to respond in a negative way. You don't have to give up a piece of your soul. You don't have to diminish a piece of your soul. If you show up to what you know you should show up to, you can respect yourself. Not as a better or worse, but as an individual cultivating his or her own individual potential. And that's it. No one can dominate your spirit. No one. If you're a good person trying to do your thing from your place to the best of your ability, the frames of reference and comparison are infinite, and no one is perfect. Everyone can be chastised. Everyone can be broken. But no one can be broken if it's in frame of reference to a previous self. And you, through your own perspective, are just trying to get better. No one can really diminish that. No one can diminish you. Carry yourself with self-respect. It's your birthright. So as long as you're trying. So as long as you're trying. It's your birthright. It's been given to you. And no one can take that from you. Unless you let them. Thank you all for watching. And until next time. Peace.